Hey guys, this is Kevin from Fuely Guitar Pickups. I'm in the shop today building some orders for a few guys. I thought I'd do a little installment series and show you my build process, the winder that I use, talk a little philosophy and theories of relativity, give you guys an idea of what I do. When I started building pickups or designing them, I studied them for quite some time, and it was really to put humbuckers in a guitar I'm designing, which would be down the road in the future. But once I got into them, I was hooked. It's infinite, they're fun. It's the most fun I've had besides building race engines and hot rods and stuff. Pickups in general, I kind of view them as a translation device for your guitar. You know, it takes the vibration of the strings and those frequencies and translates them into an electronic signal that you can amplify. Now, with that said, you know, I think a guitar pickup needs a certain amount of transparency and the ability to let the guitar player, shine through that. But it also has to color the tones in a flattering manner. Now, I offer a few different series of winds, but my favorite right now is the Pro Mod because it's kind of my signature deal. This wine's a little bit of a hybrid, as I use two different types of wire on the bobbins, and I blend the other materials from vintage to modern to create a pretty versatile pickup that'll allow you to do quite a bit depending on what your goals are. It'll go vintage to heavy, depending on the amp and your settings and what you like. And it's turned out a lot better than I expected it to, and it's my most popular selling piece as it sits right now. Also in this video at the end, you're gonna see me build my latest humbucker, which I'm releasing pretty soon here, and that's called the Top Fuel humbucker. And this pickup's a modified version of the Pro Mod wind, and it's for high gain applications, which will be somewhere in the 14K range, with an A8 magnet and other fun stuff. So we'll move forward. I'll show you guys the winder, and as I go on, we'll talk more in detail about the new humbucker and how I build things. So enjoy my boring, monotone voice, and I'll try to keep them short. Okay, this is the winder I built. That winds all my pickups. Right now I don't have the motor for the automatic traverse set up because I'm hand winding. And we'll zoom in here and we'll give you a quick rundown. The wire starts here on the spindle. I use a whisker disc on top of it, which handles all my pre-tension. If you're a winder and you're watching this and you don't use one of these, I highly recommend it over the funnel or using a funnel or anything like that. When you're winding a wire this small, as it winds, it can waterfall as it comes off of the coil, or it can coil up into itself, and then you end up breaking it and you have all kinds of problems. When I wanted to design my tensioning setup, my goal was something really consistent, because tension does play a pretty big part in the shape of the coil and how it's going to sound. So with this prototype, the wire comes out of the spool and passes through this eyelet here, which I robbed off of a fishpole, and comes up through a buffer, which is a felt piece and an alligator clip. Where a majority of the tension happens is in a rocker type tensioner that is spring loaded that I designed. As the wire is wound on an oblong coil, you get a lot of slop once it reaches the long side, where most of the tension usually is in the corners or on the ends of the coil. When you're overwinding, or depending on how loose the tension is, you can get a lot of bulge on the long side. This tensioner eliminates all of this as it travels, and you'll see in future footage it'll bounce up and down in a pretty fluid manner. I have this set up so it's fully adjustable depending on what I'm winding. I can pull the pin and move it down and increase the tension. I can also loosen up the set screw for the rod and move that back and forth to increase leverage. So far this has worked very well. If I want to just use felt tensioning, I can flip it up above the pin, and I can also use it as an idler. From the tensioner pulley, the wire travels down to the traverse. A traverse I designed as a push rod type. If the motor is mounted with the cam and everything, that little green knob on the right there, I actually take that off, and that's where the cam will push the push rod back and forth to operate the traverse. What I noticed in hand winding is this actually helps me create a very nice winding pattern because of the resistance of the spring. And you can see I'll move it back and forth here. And when I push it back and forth, the resistance just allows me to do what I do. When the wire comes out of the tensioner, it goes through my wire guide. And it comes down underneath the pin in the middle above the two bolts here, and then over the pin in the front. And those are polished so it doesn't strip anything off the wire. Excuse me. And then I also have a 5000 shim in between the sandwich to allow the clearance for the wire to travel smoothly. As it makes its way out of the wire guide, then it goes onto the bobbin, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's going to the bottom of the bobbin here. I have about 300 winds on this coil to show you guys the beginning of it here. And the faceplate and the main spindle is mounted on a solid chunk of wood that I milled to get where I wanted to eliminate as much vibration as possible without building the entire thing out of aluminum. Plus I like working with wood. The counter I use is mechanical. It's driven by a super high-tech expensive rubber band, but it doesn't slip and it works well. Small aluminum mount for the motor, and my speed control, which is basically a router speed control. This will allow me to spin anywhere from 100 to 1000 RPM. That's about it for now, except for some various wire and prototype stuff and bobbins, and a few coils for a set I'm building. So next installment we'll wind up this coil here, and I'll show you how the tensioner works, and we'll go on from there. Thanks for watching.